enough love. It's our gypsy blood. We live between life and death, waiting to move on. And in the end, we accept it. We shake hands with our fate, and we walk past. There's no rest for us in this world. Finally, enough love. I don't search, I find. I found peace, I found a new view. I found you, yeah, I found you. Platinum gold, I don't search, I find. I don't search, I find. Finally enough love. Finally enough love. Yeah, it's coming. Finally enough love. Yeah, it's coming. Finally enough love. Yeah, it's coming. Finally enough love.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Offlimits show. It's your host, Donovan. Thanks for listening. It is, what is today? Actually, today is Thursday, June 20th at 1:20 a.m. Central Time. So I doubt anybody's listening live to the show, but if you're listening live, thank you. And if you're not, if you're listening in the archives or, you know, in any of the outlets that I broadcast on, thank you. It is Gay Pride Month now, so I wanted to do a show about Gay Pride Month this year, and I wanted to certainly express, you know, happiness and happy Pride to everybody out there listening, whether you're gay or not gay, and talk about, you know, that and some other things, of course, in some shows. I want to talk about Pose, which I've discovered since the last time I did a show, which I fucking love, and about my book, of course, which is coming out soon. Excuse me. And my birthday just happened on June 7th, and Madonna's new album, and many other things. So I'll start with Madonna's new album because we just played that song. That song is I Don't Search, I Find, from Madonna's new album, Madam X. And for those of you who are not Madonna fans, you're probably young. Because most of her fans are most of her fans are like in at least their late 30s or older. I mean, her real true fans like me. But even if you could be in your 20s or younger, maybe even in like Madonna, that's great. You have great taste. Madonna has released this album, and it has come upon a great deal of praise by critics and by fans alike, as well as a great number of critics who completely hate it. Now, I will say every Madonna album that I ever have had and ever listened to is always different than the one before. That's one of the things she does, and she always wants to do something new and hip and different. She doesn't want to stay and do the same thing she's done before. She's interested in art, and she's interested in an artistic expression, and she doesn't want to do the same thing over and over, which is completely understandable. And so this album is no different. And so every time I listen to an album of Madonna, I always have to listen to it a few times before I really either get it or like it or understand it. And sometimes I just like the song specifically, a specific song or whatever. But for me, and not just with Madonna, but with anybody that I'm listening to, I've always been someone who listens to lyrics. I don't just listen to the music. And so to me, it's a combination of both the music and the lyrics that evoke emotions in me, whether they're good, bad, happy, sad, whatever. And so for me, when I'm listening to music, I listen to that. And so Madonna, one of the reasons I love her so much is because she's always done a great job at meshing lyrics that she writes, and she writes almost every single song she's ever sang. She's written herself. The lyrics that she writes are meaningful, and usually autobiographical for her, and also incredibly, they evoke emotions in people, and people can identify with them. And most of her music is about empowerment, self-empowerment, as well as freedom and from oppression and things like that. If you listen to all of her music from the past and kind of breaking free from convention and from the status quo. So she is a true artist. People don't give her her due because she is a true artist, because she was so famous and has been so famous for so long. For almost 40 years, she's been, Madonna. And she has been looked at like, Pop-Tart, when she first came out, like just a flash in the pan or whatever. And of course, she's proved that to be wrong, and she really has something to say, and she's done a great job at doing it. And she's incredibly talented as an artist and as a songwriter, not as an actress. She's a horrible actress. I mean, that's just the truth. I mean, there's no debating that. She's never ever been a really great actress. She's had her good moments, like in A League of Their Own and Desperately Seeking Susan and in Evita. But Evita, come on, is just basically one long form video, which we know she does incredibly well. So, but she did great in all of those movies. But most of her movies have sucked. But she is an incredible artist. I mean, and the difference for me between someone who's an artist and just a performer, or someone who's an artist and just a singer, is the difference between someone like Celine Dion, whom is an incredible singer. Okay, I love Celine Dion. I love her music. I think she's an incredible singer. She's an extraordinarily talented singer, but she's not an artist, an artistic singer. She's a song art. She's a singing artist, recording artist, of course. But I mean, she's not an artist, because to me, to be a true artist, you have to be able to reflect life, not just within your voice, but also within your lyrics and the things that you do. And she doesn't write her own music. And also, she's not really someone who really pushes boundaries. She really just kind of stays kind of safe in the middle. And that's just who she is, and that's okay. So for me, an artist really pushes boundaries and challenges people's perception and thought. So anyway, this album, Madam X, which just came out, I like a lot. I think I'd say there's 15 tracks on this album, and of these 15 tracks, I like 13. So that's pretty good. And 2 of them I can't even listen to ever. I just hate them. And some other people just love these other tracks. I just can't stand them. The ones I love are God Control, which I'll play at the end of the show. The one I just played, I Don't Search, I Find. And then Dark Ballet, I like Crave, Come Alive, and Faz Gostoso, which is Portuguese, and I Rise, Looking for Mercy, Madian, Killers Who Are Partying, and Crazy. I like all the Extreme Occident. I like all of those songs. But the rest of them, and I like Future's okay, I guess. Batuka, people love it. I hate it. And also Bitch, I'm Loca. It's kind of catchy, but I don't like it either. So other than that, I love it. And so just FYI, Madame X is called Madame X. The reason she named this album that is because she was, when she was young, when she started out in New York City as a dancer before she was Madonna, she danced at the Martha Graham Studio School in New York City, which is a very prestigious school for dance. And she was a dancer there. And, you know, most dancers have to kind of fall into line, and they have to kind of do what they're told, and they have to wear uniforms, and they have to kind of all be one, right? Madonna stuck out. She was her own person. She wore what she wanted. She danced the way she wanted. She didn't really want to she broke rules, and that's one of the reasons I like her and love her, and that's why she's a good artist. And so Martha Graham came to her one day and said, I don't know what to do with you. You refuse to wear the uniform that I tell you to. You refuse to stay in line with the other dancers and do the things I tell you. And every time you come in here, you're somebody different. You look different. You look like somebody else. So I'm going to start calling you Madame X, since you don't really have an identity. And so she started calling her Madame X. And that's where the name of the album came from, because it's about various identities. She's spent most of her past few years, in 5-6 years or whatever, I think 4 or 5 years actually, in Portugal, because her adopted son, but her son, David, wanted to play soccer professionally. And so she wanted the best school was in Lisbon, Portugal, and so that's where she's been living, and this album is therefore influenced by that. So now I'm done with my Madonna spiel. I just wanted to say I love the new album, and I think if you listen to it, you have to listen to it a few times to really get and understand it, and don't look at it like, oh, I'm expecting it to be like Madonna from, you know, Vogue era or whatever. Although there's some Vogue-ish songs, like the one I just played sounds Vogue-ish actually, on it. But it's really an experimental album, and it's one that is basically one where she's saying, I'm doing what I want to do musically, and whether you like it or not, and I don't really care. I'm at a point in my career where I don't really care if I get hits or not, because they won't play me on the radio anyway, because I'm too old. So I'll just do what the fuck I want. And that's basically the way the album is. So it's good. Anyway, check it out if you haven't listened to Madame X yet. Anywho, moving on. This is Pride Month, and 2019, and it is incredibly important to me, I think, that we celebrate Pride. I think we as a community, whether you're part of our community as one of us or as an ally, I think it's still very important, especially, today with Trump and the administration. It's Trump as the president and his administration and the people that are emboldened by his horrible behavior and bigotry towards our community and other communities and races and everything else in this world. It's more important now than ever to have a Gay Pride Month, because Pride isn't about saying, oh, look at me how hot I am, or sexy I am, or pretty, or interesting, or whatever. It's about saying, this is how I've always seen it this way anyway. It's about saying, look, I am here, and you can't ignore me. It's the whole, I'm here, I'm queer, get used to it type thing. Because basically, if you didn't have Pride, and it had never started or begun, of course it started as a result of the Stonewall riots in 1969. But the following year they had Pride, the first Pride, or whatever that year they had Pride, that really is the first Pride. But anyway, if we didn't have Pride, people would be able to forget we exist. So visibility is incredibly important. And I think that's really the purpose of Pride, is to say we're here, and don't let people forget that we're here, that we exist, and that we matter, and that our rights are as equal as anyone else's. So I think that's really what it's about. And so whether you participate in Pride, whether you go to a Pride parade, or whether you donate money to gay organizations, gay, lesbian, GLBTQIA, whatever organizations, isn't important how you do it, as long as you are an advocate and you stand up for bigotry wherever you see it, whether it's towards gay people or whomever, then amen, thank you, I love you. Because we need every ally we can get, especially these days where dumbfuck is, he actually said that we couldn't, that the various embassies and various bases and military bases and things like that could not fly the gay pride flag. And they've been doing it in defiance of him, saying, well, fuck you, we're doing it anyway. And he actually banned them. And so he's done everything he can he's still doing it, every little by little by little, trying to erode the rights of the gay people in this country. And he's not going to win. Ultimately, we're going to be fine. But it is scary because he's already put people into concentration camps, which is what it is, by the way, when someone is in a fucking concentration camp. When they are concentrated, a particular minority or a particular political prisoner or a particular section of the population is concentrated in one location and imprisoned against their will, that is a concentration camp. Whether they're murdering them or not, it's a concentration camp. So it is, the people on the border of Mexico who are still there and their children are there, being held against their will. So it is incredibly sad the way the country has gone. And I think, unfortunately, we are at a point where seriously, we're at a tipping point to me, because it's like if by some awful fate that dumb fuck Trump gets to be president again, he's going to do so much more damage than he already has. And I really honestly think that his agenda is really written by Putin from top to bottom. I really think Putin's saying, do this, do this, do this, do that, this is what he wants, because basically he's doing everything he can to make our country look like Russia. And, their views on gays, their views on black people, their views on immigrants and so forth. So it is exactly the same. He's trying to mirror image us and destroy us in that sense from the inside out. I really believe that. And unfortunately, as long as Trump is in office, that is a fear that I will have. But let's hope to God that dumb fuck is not our president again, and we get a Democrat in there this time, because as you know, whether you know or not, whether you're Republican or whether you're Democrat, the facts are, and I know Republicans don't like facts. They don't really care. They just say whatever they want to say and make people believe it, even though it's untrue. But the facts are that America has always done better under a Democratic president, not only fiscally, financially, but also, socially, social rights and so forth, and the freedoms and so forth. So, and also domestically, especially. So we've done so much better in those ways as a Democratic country than we have as a Republican country. So hopefully we will have somebody. I really like Elizabeth Warren. I like Pete Buttigieg, and I like who's the person I was going to say? I like Beto O'Rourke, but I really don't think he's going to win. I think his momentum has been, unfortunately, lost. I don't know why. I don't feel the momentum behind him anymore. I think he came out too soon to do that or whatever. And Biden's okay, but I don't really want an old guard person. I want somebody new, some new blood in there that's going to beat fucking Trump. And, like Bernie Sanders and Biden are kind of the old guard. They've had their shot, in my opinion. Although Biden's never run for president, he's been vice president and everything, and he's part of the old guard. Let's start with some new fresh blood. I think we need it, don't you? So anyway, that's my little political talk today. Anyway, so moving on. So yeah, Pride Month, be sure you actually do something for Pride Month, whether it's tell your gay friends or family or GLBTQIA people, whatever. That you are on their side, because it does matter. Oh my gosh, hey, it's William in the chat room. Hey girl, hey. Oh, well, thanks. William says, so glad you're doing a podcast. I've missed you. Thank you, William. I appreciate that. I haven't had time. I've been really, 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 really busy. And I've been trying to do a show with Jason a couple times, and he keeps bailing and on the Gay XYZ show that we do, he keeps not showing up and standing me up or whatever. So that's one reason I stopped the show a while back, because he's not reliable. But anyway, beyond that, thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. But anyway, so be sure and say hi to everybody you're in your circle out there this month on Pride. So thank you for doing that. And speaking of Pride Month and everything, coming out, people who have not come out, if you're listening to this show, when I used to do this show years ago, when I first started this show, this is actually the 10th year I've done this show. It's insane. I used to do this show almost every night, actually, when I first started the first few years, which is crazy. It was probably like 4 or 5 times a week anyway. and I had tons of callers. I was on a different platform, and we had live callers calling in all the time and everything. And it was a lot of, a lot of trolls and shit. But it did make it interesting because I would be able to actually fucking tell them how much I fucking hated them because they hate gay people or black people or whatever the case may have been. But anyway, this show is the 10th year I've done the show, and it has always been amazing to me how many people I heard from, and I'm still friends with on here now. Like, they were young, like they were 15, 16-year-olds, 19-year-olds, whatever, years ago that I'm still talking to now, because they hadn't come out yet, and they called into the show. They wanted advice. They wanted to know what to do about coming out, or they lived in the middle of, Podunk, Arkansas or something, and they didn't know what to do. And so it's just amazing to me. And then they would write me these amazing thank you letters and things, which I still have somewhere, which I just really, really cherish. So it's really great that my show has mattered to some people, whether it's one person or 10 or 100, whatever. I'm so happy that has been the case, because I really have tried to make a difference in people's lives and be an empowering voice for those who don't really have one. So okay, so we talked about Madonna, we talked about Pride Month. Okay, I want to talk about Pose. Okay, so I started watching Pose like 3 months ago, and I had seen it on Netflix, on my little list or whatever, for like over and over. It kept popping up, and I was like, I'll watch it eventually. I thought I was going to be all this drag queen stuff and whatever. And I'm not really a fan of like Drag Race or anything. I mean, I've seen it once or twice, but it's not like one of those shows I just love like a lot of gay guys do. I don't watch it. I like RuPaul and everything. It just isn't my thing. So I thought it was going to be like that. But I watched the first episode, and I was completely hooked on Pose. And I watched the whole first season like in a day, which was like, because each episode's like an hour and a half long, so it was a lot of time. Anyway, I watched the whole episode because I just binged the whole thing. I couldn't wait for the second season. And then I got my husband to watch the second season start. I rewatched the whole first season with my husband so he could watch the second season with me, which started actually 2 weeks ago. So now we're in the third episode. This coming week will be the third episode of the second season. The show is so amazing, and it's so empowering and so incredibly real, because a lot of people don't realize or know, first of all, Pose is based on a real thing. It's based on the ballroom culture in New York City in the late 80s, early 90s, from which Vogue, Madonna, did the Vogue video, is from. That's where it was inspired from, the Vogue video and the Vogue song. So, and if you, in the 90s, I remember 1993, I think I saw this documentary called Paris is Burning, which came out in 1990, but I saw it in 93. And it's about the real people and everything. So it's just a fascinating look into their lives. But anyway, the show, of course, is much more dramatized, but it's based on fact. And it is so fucking amazing. I've got these amazing transsexual women who play transsexuals on the show, which I love, that they're actual transsexuals and they actually are playing transsexuals rather than a straight guy playing a transsexual, which always fucking annoys me, or a straight guy playing a gay guy or whatever. It's like, you get a black person to play a black person, get a gay person to play a gay person. I mean, that's just my opinion. But anyway, you don't have to be, but I really think it's nicer. But anyway, so they really, it's so, what's the word I'm trying to look for? It's so entertaining, first of all. And it's so deep, emotionally deep. It's real, it's raw, and it's incredibly touching as well. It's just a great show. So if you haven't seen Pose, I'm sure most people who listen to the show probably have seen it. Definitely watch it from beginning to end, first season to the second, because it is totally worth it. They've already, based on their first episode from the second season, they've already been picked up for a third season, because Netflix was so happy they already picked them up for a third season. That's never happens, and that's amazing. So be sure and check out Pose if you haven't seen it, because it's a fucking great show. Okay, so I just had a birthday. It was my 44th birthday. I'm old as fuck. When I started this show, I was 33 or 34 years old, by the way. So it's incredible that I'm 44, because I have been, first of all, I have to say, I'm very fortunate, because most people always look at me and they don't think I'm my age. I started teaching as a professor, just like one class a week at a college here in Dallas, and I was teaching interior design in January. And the students were like, wondered how old I was, because I was talking about things that were kind of outdated or whatever. And they're like, how old are you? I'm like, I'm like 44. No way. Like, yes. They thought I was like 32 or 34 or something like that. So I was like, well, anyway, that happens to me all the time, which is very nice, and I like that. But I also feel like, look, I've earned my age. So I sometimes wish I looked my age, because sometimes people think I'm younger than I am. They don't take me seriously still. But anyway, my 44th birthday was this year on June 7th, and we went to a restaurant here in Dallas called Town Hearth, which I'd never been to. Really amazing. Great food. My steak was kind of tough. It had a $59 steak, by the way. It was a 16-ounce prime rib, I think. Yeah. And it was tough. And I told them to cook it well done, so it's probably my fault. But I don't like any pink, I don't like any red. I mean, pink I can stand, but no blood or anything. And so my mom was there sitting next to me, and she ordered the filet, and she ordered hers well done. And hers came out bleeding. And I mean, literally just like squished. It was like blood coming out, like in Mommy Dearest or something. It was horrible. And so they were very apologetic and took it back and everything, and gave her a whole brand new plate of everything. But anyway, it was really, really good, and a really cool atmosphere. They have a submarine in the middle of the place, and in an aquarium. They have like a bazillion chandeliers just all lining the entire space. And they have a really cool bar area. It's just a really cool place. So if you're in Dallas, or if you ever come to Dallas, definitely check out Town Hearth. Anyway, so we went there for my birthday. And then my husband actually bought me a cake, had a cake made for me for my birthday. We came back, we had cake and stuff, and it was a Madonna cake. So if you go into my Instagram, which is Donovan Lord, I mean, it doesn't get much easier than that. DONOVANLORD. If you go on my Instagram, you'll see the cake there. And be sure, if you're not following me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter, and follow me on Facebook, because I definitely want you to follow me so you can know what's going on in my life. Anyway, so it's a really cool cake, which is based on my favorite Madonna album, which is called Ray of Light, which in my opinion is her best album ever. She's won like 10 Emmys or Grammys for it, and everything. It's a really great album from 1998. But anyway, so it was really cool. That was nice. And I got a brand new Martin what's it called? D15M is the model name, guitar for my birthday. It's a $1,300 guitar, and I love it. And I had this guitar before. I've been playing guitar since I was 22 or something. Or, no, it's like 23, 24. Anyway, so 20 years ago, basically, I started playing the guitar. And I just bought one cheap one off eBay or something. It was like a kit or whatever. And it was a black one, and it had like a strap, and it had a small, like a basic case, and, strings and a book or whatever. And so I've been playing the same one for 20 years because I haven't really been playing guitar that much. I play it every once in a while. I mean, I played violin since I was 5. I played the piano since I was 8. And then guitar since I was 23 or whatever. But it was never something I played all the time. But recently, maybe the past 6 months, I just started playing it all the time. I just really got into the guitar and really learning it better and getting better at it and playing the songs I love or whatever and singing to them. So I got that really upgraded guitar for my birthday. So I was very ecstatic about that. I love it to death. You can also see that on my Instagram as well, by the way. And then what was the other thing I was going to talk about? Oh, my book. So my book, if you're not aware or haven't listened to the show or to XYZ show that I do with Jason sometimes when he's available, I wrote a book last year. It was a poetry book, and it was basically a compilation of poetry that I had written over the past 25 years, or actually since I was about 15 years old. So really like the almost 30 year period. So then I wrote like maybe 13, 14 new poems and for the book itself, and added those in there. But anyway, it is a book of poetry that I wrote, and it's called Heartaches. It's available at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, iBooks. If you want to get the, like the non-hardcover version, you can get an e-version or whatever at those places as well. It's at Books A Million. It's at places in England, Waterford or something, books. I can't remember what it's called there as well, which is a big bookstore there like Barnes & Noble is here. So anyway, if you want to check it out, it's called Heartaches. And I'm having a big little shindig here in Dallas. So if you're in Dallas, you're going to be in Dallas on August 10th. Come and come to my little cocktail party I'm having for the book release. The book is being actually released. You can pre-order it now. but it's being actually released to purchase or whatever on August the 6th of this year. And then my release party is on August the 10th. So be sure, if you're in Dallas, let me know so I can invite you and come out. It's free drinks and free little snacks and shit like that. And I'll do a short little reading. But anyway, be sure and check it out. It's called Heartaches. And I'm really happy about it. I'm really proud of it. And I will say that the book is rhyming poetry. And I had someone say that they didn't like it because it was rhyming poetry and not free verse poetry. And I almost put in the beginning of my introduction in the book how I am aware that rhyming poetry has fallen out of vogue for most people. Most people like free verse poetry. And basically, free verse poetry to me is just basically like talking. You're just like blah 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 blah. Then this happened. Blah 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 blah. But it has a little theme or whatever. That's basically free verse. But for me, the way poetry comes to me in my mind, in my brain, is through rhyme. It's basically, I could make all of my poems could be songs because almost every song rhymes, right? So it's basically like that. And some of them actually started out as songs. Some of them started out as songs. I've written songs before. Song like lyrics as well as music, but lyrics. Some of these started out as lyrics to songs I converted and kind of changed to poetry. So the point is that I like that because that's how I think. And when I think of a poem, it comes through me in rhyme. So that's how I do it. So if you don't fucking like rhyming poetry, then you won't like my book. But I don't care if you like it or not. I just want you to know that if you do read it, you know what you're getting into. So anyway, and there's a lot of poetry in there about gay GLBT issues, coming out and things like that, and being bullied for being gay. There's stuff in there about race and how the things I've had to deal with race. It's autobiographical. It's about specific moments in my life that have happened in the heartaches in my life that I've had to endure. Not every one of them, but a lot of them or several of them. And so there's about 116 pages. And also in concert with each poem, I drew and did photography and sketched and painted and different things in there. So paintings and sketches and things I've done are also in there along with every single poem to kind of elevate that. So if you're interested in the book, check it out. So I just had to pimp my little book there. Sorry. Another new song that came out, by the way, is Taylor Swift's new song, which I really, 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 really like. It's called, what the fuck's it called? You Need to Calm Down. I love this song. And it's really great because it talks about, basically people who are like trolls on the internet and stuff and how she's had to deal with that. But also Katy Perry appears in the video and they kind of make up over it. So I don't know if you know about that whole thing where they were having an issue, but it does resolve that as well. So it's really good. I love Taylor Swift's new song. So check that out. Also, Black Mirror, by the way, if you haven't seen Black Mirror before, another great show you should check out for sure. I think it's on Netflix. I don't know. There's a really good one with Miley Cyrus. This is the third episode of the season. Really good episode. Really liked it a lot. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to discuss before I go. The gay news stuff. So there's a few things in the gay news I wanted to address real quick before I go, and they would be, first of all, I don't know if you knew that the Notebook guy, Nicholas Sparks, is in trouble because he said basically he doesn't like black people and he doesn't like gay people and some horrible things about them and whatever. So if you're into the Notebook, the movie which he wrote or whatever, you might want to stop patronizing his fucking shit. Oh, the other thing was, I don't know if any of you have ever seen Tales of the City, but by Armistead Maupin, which is based on his books. Anyway, there's been like 4 series of that show, and they have a last one now, Tales of the City, more Tales of the City or something like that. And it's okay. It's kind of slow, but it's pretty good. You might check that out as well. I like that a lot. And then there's also, I thought this was very interesting. Gay men wrongly assume attractive guys are less likely to have STDs. Now, I don't understand that at all because to me, I would think the opposite. Because the hotter you are, probably the more partners you've had, and the more possibility you've had of getting an STD. I'm not saying necessarily that's always the case. You can be a big old slut and be hideous as fuck. But I'm just saying generally, I think people who are more attractive, generally people who consider more attractive or whatever, are going to probably find that they, get STDs more often because they probably have more sex than the rest of us. So just saying. I thought that's really stupid, though. But anyway, it said that this study said that it's not true, that actually most people on average who were found to be more physically attractive were also rated less likely to have any STDs. Not only that, but participants also said they were less likely to use condoms with them during sex. They said it's called the halo effect, which is defined as the tendency to associate positive traits with the physical attractiveness, even when there is no other evidence to support this association. Now, of course, we've all been guilty of that. We see some really hot guy, and even though they're a complete douchebag, we still see them as being, oh, the sweetest, nicest, most beautiful, handsome thing in the world, even though they may treat us like shit or whatever. So, but anyway, the findings of the research demonstrated a specific bias in thinking that sex with an attractive person could be less risky, which is unlikely to be accurate, they said. So be sure to use a condom if you're not on PrEP, and be sure to only have sex with people that you, you know, I can't say that people you only know. That's ridiculous because, I mean, we're talking about gay people. And that reminds me. There was also a thing, an article, I can't remember where it was. I wish I could find it. But it was about the fact that gay married men in general are not faithful. Even though they seem to be towing the line the way a heterosexual couple generally is seen to be doing, they don't. As a study stated or found that the majority of gay married men actually have open relationships or an arrangement or an understanding or something like that. And it just makes sense to me because men are different than women. And people know that about men. Men have a higher sex drive than women, and we have this biological imperative to reproduce or spread our seed or whatever because we have so much testosterone in us, much more than women do. So it is understandable that would be the case. I think it's understandable. I have no problem with open relationships if it works for you. I have no problem with it. I prefer monogamy, but if you like open relationships, if you're in an open relationship, that's great. If it works for you, as long as you're honest about it and both of you know, fine. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting because most people who are married in the straight world, I mean, I think most of them don't even actually have the kind of relationship that, people would actually consider to be provincial or typical. I think most of them also probably fool around or whatever as well, whether it's with knowledge or not. So I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting little thing. So anyway, I think that's all I have for today. I'm going to play the last song I was going to play, which is on Madam X. Excuse me, I'm sorry, which is called God Control. And the song is about basically the state of our fucking country and the fucking bullshit we've had to endure over the course of Trump's administration and the way we're kind of going down the drain, and about gun control as well as other things. So anyway, I hope you enjoy it. It's called God Control, Madonna's new album, Madam X. Be sure and check me out on, as I said earlier, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, Donovan Lourdes, or you can also look for Offlimits Show and all of those as well. Also on Facebook. And if you ever want to talk about anything with me on the air, feel free to let me know and we'll set that up, okay? Thanks for listening to the show and have a great happy Pride, everybody. Good night.
Everybody knows the damn truth. Our nation led, we lost respect. When we wake up, what can we do? Get the kids ready, take them to school. Everybody knows they don't have a chance to get a decent job, to have a normal life. When they talk reforms, it makes me laugh. They pretend to help, it makes me laugh. I think I understand why people get a gun. I think I understand why we all give up. Every day they have a candle, victory, blood of innocence spread everywhere. They say that we need love, but we need more than this.
This is your wake-up call. Unlike your nightmare, I'm here to start your
day. This is your wake-up call. We don't have to fall. A new democracy. Guided pornography. A new democracy. People think that I'm insane. The only gun is in my brain. Each new birth, it gives me hope. That's why I don't smoke that dope. Insane people think I am. Brain inside, my only friend. Hope it gives me birth each new. That dope, I don't smoke, it's true. Everybody knows the damn truth. Everybody knows the damn truth. Wake up. We need to wake up, 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 wake up. We need to wake up, 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 wake up. It's a hustle. Yeah. It's a hustle. It's a club. It's a hustle. It's a weird kind of energy, a bizarre thing that happens to be an abnormal fraternity, and I feel more than sympathy. We need to wake up, 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 wake up. We need to wake up, 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 wake up. People think that I'm insane. The only gun is in my brain. Each new birth, it gives me hope. That's why I don't smoke that dope. Insane people think I am. Brain inside, my only friend. Hope it gives me birth each new. That dope, I don't smoke, it's true. Everybody